Hi guys, today is our second English lesson on comic books and today we're going to be making some. So you're going to need to have a piece of paper and a pencil and probably some sort of ruler or something you can draw straight lines with. When you're ready, press play and we'll get going. Let's start by thinking back to last week's lesson where we looked at features of comic strips. Can you think of anything that you think we might find when we're looking at comic strips? Let's have a look together, shall we? So, a comic strip is a narrative, it's a story. There's a plot, there's characters, something might go wrong. It's mostly made up of pictures, and these pictures are put into boxes like this, of different shapes and sizes. You might find captions, short pieces of writing which help to tell the story. You might find writing also in speech bubbles. Different types here, circular ones, square ones, and these ones here, remember, meant somebody's speaking quietly. You might also find thought bubbles to show what a character's thinking. And you might also find something called onomatopoeia, which are these action sound words like pow, bang or crash. So let's see if we can use some of these features today in our own comic strips. We're going to have two choices today. Option one is to think of your own idea for a comic and design your characters, your plots, and make it from scratch. The second option, which I'm going to use myself today, is option two, where you use a story you know already and you turn that into a comic strip instead. So for example, using a familiar fairy tale like Jack and the Beanstalk, or a story or a film maybe you like to watch, and then breaking that into sections and turning that into your very own comic strip. I'm going to take the story of Little Red Riding Hood, one that I know really well. I'm going to split that into roughly 8 sections because on a piece of paper like this you can probably fit about 8 boxes for an 8 picture comic. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is my plan. So thinking of the story, the first thing I want to include in my comic is the start of the story of Red Riding Hood, where she leaves her mum. That's a really important section, isn't it? Now her mum says something really important to her. She says, don't talk to strangers. So I think somewhere in my comic, I'm going to have that in there. Okay. The next thing I think is really important in the story is when she meets the wolf. Then the next part that's important is the wolf eating grandma. The next part that's important is the wolf becoming grandma. And for that bit I definitely need to make sure she's got grandma's hat, her nightie, her lipstick maybe, and she gets into the bed. So that is my really rough plan to help me with my pictures and organise my pictures into the right places. Before you go any further, your first activity is to make yourself a little plan like my one, either of a story you know or of a story you're making up to go with your comic. That's task 1. Pause the video, do that activity, and then press play when you're ready to carry on. Start making then. So your paper can be this way or this way, it doesn't really matter. You need a ruler or something you can draw straight lines with. I'm going to use a black pen here so you can see it under the camera. Now roughly, if you make your boxes about 6 centimetres deep, like this, then you should be able to fit enough on your page to get your 8 boxes in and a few extra ones spare. And you can break these boxes up into smaller boxes at the top of your title. Ready to start drawing. Right, I'm going to start with section 1, which is leaving grandma. So I'm going to split my box into 2, like this. Now I think I'll put a little caption at the top here because it's a fairy tale. I might have once upon a time. And the captions go in little boxes like this. Now she's leaving her mum to go to see her grandma, so I'm going to draw mum over here. I'm going to say the important statement: don't talk to strangers. That's my first picture done. So she's left grandma, and I know that mum said, so left to go see grandma. Mum said don't talk to strangers, and we know she's going to grandma's house that way. So here's my finished first page. I've coloured it all in all nicely. I managed to get up to number 6, and that's pretty much it though, so I need another page for my second 2 points there. But let's have a look at our success criteria, and hopefully you can see how I've used lots of these things in here already. So it is a story. I've used pictures mostly as I've gone through. I've got a caption up here, once upon a time, and a caption down here, a while later. I've used different speech bubbles throughout it. Haven't used this one though yet, which I might use later on. I've used a thought bubble over here where I was thinking my wolf had a bright idea. I've used some onomatopoeia. I've used gobble, knock knock. And actually something else that isn't on here I've used are these little motion lines and action lines to show movement. So there we have it. Now it's your turn. Have a go at making yourself a little comic strip